Guys, hope you're well. I'm here with Jake today. Jake is someone who I've known for about a year now, year and a half,
I would
roughly.
say so, yeah.
We've both gone through high ticket closing, both still closed now. And this conversation is going to be about our experience, honest, raw, how it's gone, things that have gone well, things that haven't, mindset, everything. So if you're someone who is potentially thinking about wanting to dive into this space, then I definitely recommend sticking around for the video. Good place to start. Do you want to just introduce yourself, where you're from, how old you are?
Myself, wow.
And yeah.
This feels a little bit formal. But so my name is Jake, as you kindly introduced me. I've been in high ticket sales for probably around just over a year now, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, been pretty transformational, to be honest. Being able to travel a lot, left my corporate job, which was pretty sweet. And yeah, right now we're living in Bali. So things are pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty
I was going to say, can't complain.
Yeah.
Cool. And so how long ago did you leave your corporate job? Because you went to uni, went down the whole uni route and then straight into corporate London. So how was that? Because I think a lot of people do that sort of route. So tell me what made you want to leave? Like, what was the thought process?
For sure, yeah. It was pretty... So I went to uni, I did 3 years at uni. I did business marketing management, which is like the most pointless degree ever. The whole curriculum was pretty archaic. And then also, for those people that go to uni, it's pretty much just a piss up. For 3 years, like a holiday. So I did that, and then afterwards, like a lot of people, I didn't really know what I wanted to do afterwards, and uni was just a delay for real life, essentially. That's when I went into the corporate world. I had a marketing role at one point. I did that for a year, didn't really enjoy that. And then while I was doing that, I also realized I'm not really learning much, but then also at the same time, I'm stuck behind a computer in an office in a 9 to 5. Like, I'm not really enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then I looked at, okay, I want to upskill myself, but I want to transition roles. And that's when I landed as an SDR, so a sales role. It was located in London, but I work kind of remote. And then, I was working in like cold calling in a corporate.
It's so invasive.
It's quite invasive, quite in your face. But I was in corporate for 2 years, but I was an SDR for like 6 months, and that introduced me a lot into sales, the world of sales. But to be honest with you, I was cold calling and I didn't really enjoy it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was quite 150 dials a day, like speaking to people that don't want to talk to you, speaking to IT directors, things like that. It was just not what I wanted to do. And I knew ultimately I didn't want to be constricted to 8 hours a day, having to answer to like different bosses and being under pressure all the time. I wanted to do my own thing. But what that looked like for me was quite difficult to identify. And that's when I fell into sort of high ticket sales.
And was it, did you just come across like a YouTube video or Instagram ad? Like, because that's exactly what happened with me. I saw a club closer ad popped up on my feed, and I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. Yeah. That's literally how I found out about the space. I had no idea before.
Yeah, I think I've always been looking at ways to make money online, and I tried FBA, as you know, and what you've tried as well. And it's very difficult to make a lot of money with models like FBA. I mean, people do it, right? People are able to make money from it, but there are a lot of moving parts to it and a lot of things that you have to learn.
Yeah.
Whereas with sales, I already had the skill set from being an SDR, and then also it looked like a lower barrier of entry. You didn't need an upfront investment to get into it. Whereas with FBA, you need some sort of capital to put towards the products and things like that. So it was a low barrier entry. I think I just saw something in a program about it, and I was like, okay, that resonates with me. I already have the skill. Why don't I give that a go?
Yeah.
And the more I learned about it, the more I realized, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to explore and look into further.
Yeah, I think that me and you both found the hard way with Amazon that you do need like quite a lot of money to actually make really good money from it.
Yeah.
Because I remember chatting to you probably about a year ago, and you were
Mm.
like, because it's funny because we both did the exact same program as well.
Yeah.
So me and Jake did the same Amazon training program without even knowing, and then we also did the same sales training program.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Exactly the same people.
Yeah.
And we just didn't know until we went through
Yeah.
the sales program.
What was your Amazon product?
I sold jaw exercises.
That's so funny. Do you still have them at home?
I still do, yeah. I still have them. And to be fair, like, they did okay. You know, I didn't lose money from it.
Yeah.
And I think like, we both saw that the program, we're not shitting on the program. Like, Jansen's program was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, he was a good mentor.
Yeah.
But it was, it wasn't going to get us to, it wasn't going to get me to 5K a month.
Yeah.
Anytime quick.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
there's a lot of, it's quite volatile as well, right? Things can change quite quickly. And that's what happened to me. I started with a knee pillow. Something you put in between your knees. And I got 100, 200 shipped to me from China. I branded it all myself. I spent so much time coming up with the branding.
Yeah.
And then when they came to the warehouse, they sold instantly. Like, I found a gem, a gap in the market.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
they
straight
sold
away.
instantly. And then
Yeah,
I
okay.
got back on Amazon or back in the Chinese suppliers, send me more. So I bought 600, and
Where
that
this is going.
was like all my savings. I think I spent like $5,000, 600, and then they just took ages to come. And by the time that they came, the market had already been flooded with new competitors. So then I just had like 600 knee pillows I couldn't get rid of.
Oh,
And then I ended up sending, because the warehouse costs of Amazon, they just eat into your margins.
Oh, yeah.
So I took 300 knee pillows out and brought them back into my house. So my poor mum had like 300 knee pillows.
That's hilarious.
And then I'm like, how the hell, like, how am I going to shift these?
Yeah.
And that's when I was at rock bottom.
Yeah.
300 pillows, 6K
Only up
down.
from there.
Yeah. I remember I went to a car boot sale once, and I was like, I've got to shift them in, and not one person bought them.
No.
Yeah, it was humiliating. And the girl that I was like seeing at the time, she's like, pat me on the back. Oh, it's all right. I'm a failure.
That's rock bottom.
I'm a failure. And then I managed to, I turned it around a little bit. I started ringing osteopaths, chiropractors, and then managed to sell all the knee pillows.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
I sold them in bulk. But that's the thing, like, when you start anything, there's a likelihood that you're probably going to fail. But at the end of the day, you're still going to learn a lot from that.
100%.
And although the Amazon FBA didn't work out, I learned a lot from the opportunity. And it also introduced me into the world of making money online and like how possible it is.
100%, because you make your first bit. Like, with my product, I wouldn't even say it was a failure, because I didn't lose any money from it, and I don't know if you lost money as well, but it was, like, you get your first like paycheck, kind of.
Yeah.
It's like, your first sale. I remember selling my first product in August or September 2023. The first one went, and I was like, oh, this is sick.
Yeah,
like, someone's actually bought a product that I've made.
That you made, yeah.
And then, it just gives you confidence. It's like that first limiting belief that I think a lot of people watching this are probably have, is like, it's not possible. You know, I can't make money online. I feel like it's not possible. And Amazon, for me, and probably for you as well, broke that belief for me. It was like, no, I can do this. I can make this money. And then from there, that then feel like propelled me quite nicely into high ticket sales.
Yeah.
Would you agree, do you think?
Yeah,
Or-
for sure. I think when you see, if other people can do it, then why can't you do it, right? And it's the same when you see in Amazon FBA, there are people doing well with it. And then also with high ticket sales as well. Like, you look around at people, and it's good not to compare yourself, but you also look at people and say, if he can do it, there's no difference between him and me. So why can't I
100%.
just go out and do that as well?
Definitely.
So I think
I was going to say, I think that's the good thing about having a community as well, is you see other people, you actually chat to other people. Like, when I joined the program we were both in, I remember seeing guys who were doing better than me. Well, I was just a beginner. They were a few months ahead of me, making 10K a month. And I was like, there's literally no difference between these guys and me.
Yeah.
Like, I've spoken to them. They're just normal people. If I just put in the effort, then I'm going to get there. But I think that's interesting as well. You mentioned, just to go back to something you mentioned, about how there's so many moving parts with Amazon. And I think that's the thing that I love about high ticket sales. It's like, you learn one thing, you get extremely good at selling, and you will make money.
Yeah.
And I think that that's so good. Whilst with Amazon, you've got so many different variables:
For
product, branding, marketing,
Mm.
ads. Like, it's so overwhelming for someone who is like just a beginner getting into the space.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And also, when you look at it from starting any business, you have to wear a lot of hats. You're responsible for many things. Whereas when you're a high ticket closer, of course, the things that you need to be responsible for, it's important that you stay on top of those. But then in the end of the day, you get calls in your calendar, or you have to call up like leads, inbound leads or cold leads. But at the end of the day, that's just your job. Just to run calls. You don't have to worry about fulfillment. You don't have to worry about reviews, complaints. Your job is just to sit on that call and close that person.
Exactly. And I love that.
Yeah, it's
like,
nice.
Especially after doing the Amazon stuff, it's like just focus on this, get really good at this. And the jobs are there as well. Like, I think that's another thing with high ticket sales that gave me so much confidence is like, and this is like, I feel like this is like a myth we need to bust, is like high ticket sales is basically you're basically an online sales rep. Like, it's a very fancy way, like, oh, I'm a high ticket closer. You're just an online sales rep. Like, there's no different. You're working for a company. You just have a lot more freedom. You're not going to an office. You don't have to go to stupid meetings. You aren't micromanaged. You don't have cap commissions. There's just a lot more freedom. But technically you are still an employee, but you're just an employee with a load more freedom to make more money, but also location freedom as well, because you can work from wherever. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. They throw high ticket sales in the same realm as like trading and drop shipping, when I think that they are very, very different.
Yeah. I don't really like the name high ticket sales. It's just a bit of a weird.
Exactly. I don't know who came up with it. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah, because in corporate, when I was at SDR, because it's the same as like setter and SDR. They're ultimately the same role, but they have different names.
Yeah.
And it's the same as closer, high ticket closer, and account executive.
Yeah.
Like, account executive essentially jumps on calls with people and closes them. It's the same as a closer, just different terms.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I think we should talk more about mentorship as well, because we both obviously have invested in ourselves quite a lot over the past 2 years for me, probably similar to you. So what was your thought process? Like, okay, I've seen high ticket sales, I've watched a few videos, and now I'm thinking, right, I'm going to invest a substantial amount of money into a mentor. Like, what was the mindset there, and how are you feeling? Because I think everyone needs to for me, I was super nervous, super scary. Like, it was a lot of money at the time for me. And I think that people need to realize that that's normal. Like, it's normal to be scared and feel nervous. Like, okay, I don't know if this is going to pay off or not.
For sure. Yeah, I think the first investment that I made was that Jansen's program with the Amazon FBA. And then I made another one, personal branding. But I think for me, my pain was quite strong. Like, I really disliked working a 9 to 5. So when I was jumping on these sales calls and I was getting sold to and digging into the pain and then future pacing me, I was sold, because I'm like, I want that. I don't want this. And so I was sold quite easily. But I think programs are really good, and mentorships, because even if some of them at the time feel like they're not valuable, or maybe you didn't take anything from them, there's always something to take from them. And I always look at the first program that I did. I think it was like a personal branding one. And
really? That's interesting. I didn't know you. I didn't know that.
It wasn't what I really needed at the time, and I got sold into it. But I still speak to the guy now, and I'm thankful for coming into that program, because it gives you a sense of what's required to be successful in the online space. You come into it and you realize, this isn't a golden ticket, buying this program. I actually have to do a lot of work. And then when you realize that, then it sets expectation that, yes, there are people that are successful doing it, but they also have to do a lot of work. So that's the way I look at programs. And every time I've invested in another program, or, spent more money, it's that extra layer of accountability. And then also me being like, okay, I need to make sure this works. I need to focus on, okay, I've invested this money. let's make sure that it works. And I found the more money that you invest, the more the likelihood you are gonna succeed.
Oh, 100%.
Because is that accountability
Yeah,
aspect.
it's that sting. You have to feel the sting.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was like all the money, the money I invested into the sales mentor, all the money I had at the time. So it was like you burn the boats. You have to make it work at that point. It's like you have no other option. But it's interesting you say that with investing, and sometimes they're not going well, but it shifts that mindset. Like I was chatting to some guys who, there was like 4 or 5 of them. They all invested into Iman Gadzhi's like agency navigator program, that 997 one that like pretty much everyone's invested in.
Yeah.
And I think 3 or 4 of them were like, none of them got results from it, but they're all now doing really well, but in something different. And they all stand by and they say that they wouldn't be where they are now if they didn't go through that program. And I find that really interesting because it's like, it teaches you, it's like that way in,
The way in,
you know.
yeah.
And even if it doesn't go as well as you thought, you're taking steps forward, you're falling forwards, and then you find something else, and then you can go down a different route. And I find that really, really interesting
100%.
with Iman's program.
Yeah, it's the same. I've had this similar thing with Andrew Tate's program as well.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's not great. I don't know. I haven't been in it personally. I don't think it's amazing, but it's an introduction to the online space. Then you might speak to someone else, and as long as you take one thing away from the program,
Yeah.
that's super valuable, and then you can apply that to something else, and it is just a domino effect. And then you can introduce to someone else, and it gives you a new idea. Then you go out and start that, and then it just comes down to trying and failing and getting back up again and trying again.
Yeah, it's crazy because it does. It's even if you take one thing, that one thing can be worth the money that you invested. Right? These guys, like one of the guys called Callum, who invested in Iman's program, that 997 now, the yield that is returned to him is 100x the amount, all from him just taking that step forward and investing that money. Because if he didn't do that, who knows where he'd be now? He probably wouldn't be doing what he's doing.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I think you're right. You learn so much from going through those programs.
Definitely. What do you think the mindset is required to make it in high ticket sales?
The mindset,
Yeah.
as a bit like going in as a complete beginner.
When you go from a beginner and then transition to being in there for also a long time and trying to make the money that you want.
I think patience is key.
Yeah.
100%. That's with anything, but especially in this space, I think that a lot of people come in expecting it to fall into their lap. You know, they think, oh, nice, I'm going to get on a roll. And I feel like that a lot of that is down to the marketing by some of the guys in the space, you know, the ones, I don't need to mention them, but they make it out like, oh, you take 5 calls a day, you sit on the beach, you know, you don't really have to do anything.
Yeah.
But it takes time. You need to have the patience. You need to come in and realize that it's not going to just kick off straight away. You're not going to make 10K in your first month. But if you have the way I like to think about it is like a 6 to 12 month time frame.
Yeah.
Like if you just put your head down for 6 months, learn the skill, focus on landing a job, and just those 2 things alone, then in 6 months' time, if you stay committed and you know if you're committed or not, right? People say they're committed, but like genuinely committed, not looking elsewhere, then you will do well. And the reason I say that is because I think about guys who were in the program that we were first in, and every single one of them who didn't quit is now doing well.
Yeah.
I literally can't think of any who aren't. I think of Rahul, who me and him started together. He got up to making over 30K a month. Naveed, Peter, there's so many successful stories. And, you know, we had a good mentor, but
Shout out Connor Healy.
but I also think it is down to our mindsets as well, because none of us quit.
Yeah, 100%. Like you can't lose if you don't quit, if you just keep going with it. And it's interesting because you think like over a year, for me, that felt a long time to start seeing some decent results a year. But then you look at any other career. Like at what point can you start earning almost 10K per month within the first year? It's like none at all, really.
I know.
But then some people are like, why am I not at 10K per month yet after 3 or 4 months? It's like just give it time, keep working, and then you eventually get to that point where you are making that sort of money.
Yeah.
And like you said, it is just being patient with it. And
It's crazy. Like, it's literally what you just said is crazy.
mm,
People, to make 10K a month is bonkers money to most people. Right. Even for now, like 10K a month is what an achievement to get to that point. But because you see all these other guys doing it, the expectation's there. But even to be, you know, if I turned around to someone who's working corporate, if I turned around to you 2 years ago working corporate London, and I said to you, Jake, you're going to be making $4,000 a month, $4,000 a month, and you're going to be able to travel the world, you would have snatched that up quicker than anything.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You would have taken it so quickly.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's why I really like, another reason why I really like high ticket sales is because, like, if you don't quit, the jobs are there. So you know it will happen. Things will fall into place. You'll get there. You'll get that job, and you'll make that money. Whilst again with like e-commerce, for example, it's hard to still have that positive mindset when it's like, oh, but there's so many variables, there's so many different things I need to worry about. It's high ticket sales. It's like, right, if I just keep going, don't quit, I will get one of these jobs that can make me 10K a month. And I know that they'll make me 10K a month because there's other people in the company who are making that sort of money. So it's like that, if you have the mindset of just don't give up, then you'll do really well in this space. And that would be my long-winded. That would be my advice
for sure. What about people coming in trying to learn the skill of sales?
More, less landing the jobs, more the actual skill.
Yeah, how would people go about learning the skill of sales? Because for me, when I had the SDR role, I was able to learn some of the basics. Like tonality was okay, and like speaking to different prospects. So when I came to high ticket sales, I had like a really basic level of how to speak to prospects. Whereas I feel like some people coming in might have never had a sales call before, not spoken to many people. Like, what advice would you give to those guys?
Yeah, and that was me. I was completely green. I had no experience. I'd say just absolutely smash as much role play as possible. Like, I was doing so much volume when I started, even though I wasn't even on a role yet. But every day I was role playing with other guys. Me and Rahul would jump on basically every day. And just doing that, getting the reps in, like, you learn so much. And yeah, people say it is different than being on an actual call, obviously. Yeah. But you do learn so much. And then, just trying to get on a job as quickly as possible. And I think people are like, oh, don't waste your time with crappy offers. But I worked on a few crappy offers, but I learned a lot from them. Yeah. Like, just getting in the trenches, you might not make a lot of money, but you're going to get the reps in, you're going to learn a lot. And then once you learn a lot and you have an understanding, then you know, just waiting for another opportunity to come your way, and you'll jump from that onto that one, and then you can actually start making some serious money. Because as we've spoken about before, like, there's a lot of skilled reps who could make. I know guys who I've coached who haven't even been in the space for that long, maybe 2 months, 3 months, who would still crush it on some of the top offers. That, like we've spoken about before. Yeah, the laydown offers. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. What would your advice be to someone who's first getting into the space?
I think similar to you, just reps, just getting reps in, and just being patient with yourself and realizing that learning any skill, especially when you've never done it before, takes time, and just realizing that and doing the things that are in your control to get better. The idea of taking not great offers, I've definitely done that at the start, and I think it's a great way to get on closing roles and take a lot of closing calls without having like too much stress on you and putting too much pressure on yourself. And yeah, it's a great way to practice your objection handling, and also if you have a mentor, which I strongly recommend, because if you don't have a mentor with this, you are just going into this completely dark, and not having a structure, guidance, someone to ask is going to make it a lot harder. With a mentor, what I did is when you come across challenges or things aren't going your way on a sales call, just write down what it was. Like, what was it that you were facing? What went wrong on the call? And then just go to your mentor and bring it up in the next group coaching call. And then
Yeah.
next time you get that problem, you know how to handle it. And that's what it is. It's just having that constant feedback loop of, okay, what didn't I do well and how can I do better next time? And just constantly iterating it.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to leave your ego out the door.
Oh,
and
massively.
because if you come in with an ego, it's going to be very difficult to get better because you will think that you know everything already. And I think sales is a very humbling experience in that sense, because you come in and you realize, I don't know anything, and it's ever evolving. You can always get better. You never complete sales. You can always get better.
100%.
So it's a very humbling experience, and you will come across challenges, but it's how you overcome them and learn from them as well.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing that stops guys who are at like 5k a month getting to that 10k is they get on a good closing roll, they make their first $5,000 in a month, they think they're the shit, and then they stop training, they stop doing group sessions, they stop reviewing their calls, they stop trying to invest into new mentors or coaches who can help them, and then they just end up crumbling down, and then they'll lose that offer and potentially leave the whole industry.
Offer or skills?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd say offer, honestly. Like we spoke about this the other day, but I think it's so important to have like a fundamental skill set. But I feel like once you have a really good level, let's say it's like on a graph, once you get hit like 80% skill set, 100% is the best closer you could be. I feel like if you hit like a 75 to 80%, then at that point you're pretty solid, right? You can go into any offer and you're going to crush it. At that point, it's much more about, right, we're here to learn a skill, but we're also here to make money. So it's like, we need to get on an offer where you have the capability to make that money.
Yeah.
And like we said, we know guys who got onto offers where they barely needed any sales skills. Like the top offers that are bringing in 1, 2, 3 mil a month, you don't really need to know how to close because the marketing and everything else is so solid that you're basically taking an order at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's why job acquisition is equally as important as a skill as the closing side of things. Because I would agree. It's similar to, do you watch F1?
No, I
Formula
don't.
One? Okay, it's so similar to that in the sense where, like, yes, you can be a really good driver, but at the end of the day, the vehicle that you're driving, if you have a really bad car and it hasn't got much investment in, you're probably not going to win the race because the car that you're driving isn't very good. And it's the same with closing. If you're really good at closing and you come into an offer and the marketing's rubbish, the fulfillment's rubbish, it's going to be very difficult for you to close deals.
So true.
So I do agree with you. I agree that still, though, there needs to be, like F1, there needs to be some fundamental. You should be able to drive the car quite well if you get into the car. And it's the same as closing as well. You should be able to close deals
100%.
quite well.
Yeah. And I think you do need to go through that time where you might be on an offer that's not as good. That's why I think it's also good to have those offers that aren't as good, because you'll learn a lot about the skill of sales, because you're dealing with prospects who aren't as good, right? They don't know really what's going on. Maybe they don't have as much money, so you have to be able to handle those objections, and you learn a lot from that. And then from there, you can then go to the higher offers, but you've got it in your locker. If you were to be thrown into an objection handle scenario, you've got it in your locker, right? Whilst when you get on a really good offer, and what we've seen it, guys get lazy, their skill set drops because they're just taking orders.
Yeah.
I feel like at that point you're in a bit of trouble, right? Because you're getting too comfortable.
Yeah. But then it comes back to, what are you doing it for, right? Like, what's the reason for you? And if it is just to stack cash and invest it and do it, like ride the wave while you can, then I guess there isn't a problem being on those unicorn offers and just making the most of it. Yeah. It depends what the goal is.
Yeah, that's very true. And to go back to sort of what we were talking about earlier with the investment into mentors, like I find it quite crazy to think that I invested $3,000 into the mentor that we both worked with, to my first mentor, and that investment alone has probably yielded me almost well over 6 figures in return. But
Nice.
yeah, and people understandably are scared to invest that kind of money. But then again, you compare that with like a uni degree where you invest 60 grand, right? To then get a job where you're only going to be making 2 or 3 grand a month the first couple of years straight out of uni. Like, I'd love to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, uni is, in my opinion, was a bit of a waste of money in terms of how much it is. But it's different, right? Because you're getting a student loan, you're getting a debt that you don't have to directly pay. And then with student finance, it's not, I guess it's not coming out of your own pocket. It's more of a debt. But yeah, I agree. You're not guaranteed anything when you come out of uni, and you're not guaranteed anything when you come out of a program.
Yeah.
But I think it puts you in a better position to, if you want financial freedom, if you want to not do what everyone else is doing in terms of getting a job after education and doing a 9 to 5, doing a program or a course is going to put you in a lot better position than going to uni for 3 years.
Yeah.
And if you're 18, 19 and you look at, you know, 9 to 5 and you go, you know what, I don't want to do that. It's not for me. I would strongly advise you to save up and invest in a coaching program that's going to put you in a position where you can do something online rather than go to uni. Because uni is just going to, I think uni has a place. If you have a career and you know exactly where you want to go and you need that degree to land that role, then go to uni, do that. I think it's great for that. But I think if you have no idea what you're going to do and you're encouraged to go to uni because maybe you delay 3 years or maybe you can, just not enter the real world, then I would suggest or think about maybe reconsidering that and investing in saving up for a program and doing that. I think that's a better path.
Yeah. And I think even just defer a year, like just don't go straight in. Just give yourself a year to like, okay, I'm going to give this thing a go and see where I end up. And you'll be surprised in a year like how much you can achieve. Yeah,
for sure. I would even travel. Like if I was 18 years old and I was coming out of uni,
that's what I did.
Coming out of college, just go see the world.
That's exactly what I did. I just travel around South America, and I learned a lot from that. And I would have gone straight to Leeds if I didn't do that. And I was very close to just going straight in.
Yeah, because it gives you the time to reflect and figure out what you did. And I imagine for you that you had that time and you realized, okay, maybe this isn't the only option. But when I was 18, I was like, I need to do this because it's the only option. And I want to get off my hometown where I'm from and go to uni and experience all these new things, meet all these new people. You don't give yourself space to think about it. You're very naive at that age. But I think taking a year out, at the time you're like, oh my God, a year, it's going to take so much away from what I can do. But life is so long. Just go out and try
Stop looking at your mates and what they're doing. Just focus on yourself. Like I think a lot of people need to hear that, because I almost just did the exact same. Came back traveling. I was so close to just going, I'll just go to uni because everyone's doing it, and it's just like I don't want to ruffle any feathers, just easy route. But then you can't do that because you know deep down if you're built for that or not. You know deep down what you want. And I'd recommend just like really taking time to think, like going traveling or just being by yourself for a bit and going like, what do I want? Do I really want to go to uni to do this degree, to be around these kinds of people, to be drinking all the time? Like, is that something that I actually really want to do? And then and just listen to yourself, not other people. Like just block out all the externals. I think it's important to do that.
It's good fun though.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that like a lot of people don't, like my mentor who I work with now, Sol, he went to uni and he doesn't regret it.
I had a great time. I loved it. I met some amazing people. It taught me a lot about myself as well. But again, do you need 3 years and to be in 60k debt to do that? Probably not. But I don't regret it at all. I think it was a fun time. And also it teaches you a lot, like socially as well, like social dynamics and being able to communicate, which ultimately is pretty important when it comes to sales too.
That is true. Yeah. So for someone who is working full time in a corporate gig in London, right? And they're thinking, this high ticket sales stuff looks really interesting, but I don't really know what to do, whether it's legit, whether it's something that I'd be good at. Like what do you feel like your advice would be there, other than work with a mentor? Like how would mindset wise, like what do you feel like you'd say to them?
I would sit back and really think about whether this is something you want to do, whether you're willing to make a lot of sacrifices and have a lot of self-doubt, a lot of uncertainty for the next maybe year or two, whether you're willing to take that risk. Because getting a high ticket closing role, it's pretty competitive. It's not easy, it's not straightforward, and there's going to be a lot of challenges that come up during that process, and you have to be willing to ride those waves, but then also sacrifice a lot as well. I'm not saying you have to, but I don't know, I feel like you have to sacrifice quite a bit.
For high ticket sales?
Yeah, staying up late, taking calls, maybe taking offers that you don't want to do, working for free, pretty much. Like if you're on an offer and you're not closing, the offer's really bad, you're going to be working for free for a lot of it.
Yeah.
And then it's that mental shift where you have to think, okay, it's going to work out. I just have to stick with this. It's like, how long are you willing to work for free for?
Yeah.
So there's so many variables that you have to consider, and you see the marketing, like you said earlier, live on a beach, earn 15K, 20K per month taking 2 or 3 calls. It's a lot harder than that, and there's a lot of sacrifice that comes with it. Like I sacrificed quite a lot to get to where I am now in terms of like sales, and you just have to be willing to do that. And that's a conversation that you have to have with yourself, and you have to sit down and go, do I want to go all in with this?
Yeah.
And then also having a strong why in why you want to do this. Because when those times are hard, you have something to go back to and go, okay, I'm doing this because X, Y, Z. Like I'm doing it because I don't want to stay in the corporate. And having that strong why is really important. And I think for me, the alternative was going back to corporate. And that was so not appealing to me that I just had to make it work. Because you have to think, what is the alternative? If I don't make this work, if I don't do this, then what is the alternative? Okay, the alternative is me being in that job for the next 10, 20, 30 years. And it's like, are you willing to settle for that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a sales
like
call.
a
Are you
sales
willing
call.
to settle for that?
You're pretty much objection handle yourself.
It's true though. It's so true. Like you have to take stock and go, in 5 years' time, if I am working this job and I'm feeling the same way that I'm feeling now, am I going to be happy? Like, is that really what I want? And at that point, it's like, yeah, you're going to have to make some sacrifices, and by no means is it going to be easy. You know, me and you both don't want to make out like this is a really easy fix, because it's not. But like we spoke about earlier, in the grand scheme of things, a year of sacrifice to get you to a point where you have a skill set where you can make 5 figures a month online, travel the world, do whatever you want. Because realistically, I will never be in a position now where I will have to go and work a corporate job because I've got a fundamental skill. So do you, right? You know, you might have like a month where you will be finding an offer, but you've got a skill set now where you're going to be able to make money from wherever in the world. I could drop you in the middle of Colombia and you would figure shit out. You would figure out a way to make minimum 5-6K a month, minimum. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It is cool, yeah. It is very cool. Yeah, I think you sometimes forget what you're doing and like how far you've come. It's pretty cool.
100%. So like you forget massively. I always find myself like always thinking about the next goal, but you think like yourself working corporate London, if you told him he would be in Bali right now filming a podcast on a Tuesday afternoon, just after a gym session, like on track to make 5 figures this month, like what would he say to that?
He'd say stop it.
Yeah.
No, you're 100% right. Yeah, it's always important to look at how far you've come and appreciate what you have, but then also like continue to strive for more, but definitely to spend some time just being grateful, because it's awesome, like living in Bali and earning a lot of money for just taking calls. It's not a bad gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you willing to go through that eating shit phase where like stuff's just not going well and you're hit with a roadblock, and that might go on for, a couple months maybe. But it's like, are you willing to just endure that for like one more month, one more week, few more calls, because you don't know where that opportunity for that good sales role that can make you that kind of money, it's right round the corner. And I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, it sounds so like cliche, but like if you don't give up, if you just keep going, it will come.
Yeah.
Things will fall into place.
Yeah.
Especially in the high ticket sales space. Like, don't give up, and you will make the money you want to make.
Yeah, for sure. Just being consistent and persistent with it as well.
Yeah. And with that as well, you know, even if you could, to a lot of people, if I said to them, you know, if you're watching this and you work in corporate, or you work a 9 to 5 and you just don't enjoy it, maybe you're making, I don't know, 2 to 4K a month. If I could say to you now, like, you could be closing on a gig, working online, making, you know, it doesn't even need to be the 10K. Like 10K is so like glamorized.
Yeah.
But like I said to you, like you could be making 3 or 4K a month. That's still a lot of money. That gives you the freedom and flexibility to be able to live in a lot of countries in the world, like Vietnam, like you did, like here, like South Africa, like so many different places. It opens so much up for you if you can get a skill that allows you to make 4K a month from wherever. Yeah. And there's such a big difference between 4K a month from wherever and 4K a month in London.
Yeah.
You know, that's
sure.
It's completely different.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do, and what I did is, once you get in a position where you are making 2-3K per month, just leave your hometown, like leave wherever you are, and just move to a different country, because that's going to teach you so much about yourself. You're going to learn so much. You're going to develop as a person, and then also you expose yourself to what is possible, and then you have that. Okay, now I've left. Now I'm almost all in with this. I've left everything behind. I now need to make it work.
Yeah.
And then also you start meeting people that are trying to do the same thing as you. Like when I first moved out, I was making like 2 or 3K per month in Asia, and I was living like quite comfortably with that, especially in Vietnam. But then you start meeting people and you start seeing, okay, he has his own business, or he's making 15K per month. Then you start to see what's possible, because sometimes when you are in your hometown and you're grinding it out and you're not around that type of environment, you're then like, what am I doing this for? And is it even possible? But then when you start to get around these types of people, you start to realize, it's definitely possible. And you can start to learn a lot from those people as well.
Yeah. I think environment is so key. So key. That's why I love being in a place like this, because it helps you level up, because you're meeting guys all the time in the gym, in the sauna, like paddle, whatever. You're being introduced to these guys who are doing way better than you. And then you can sit with them and have a coconut and just have a normal conversation with them, and you realise, right, this bloke he's just a bloke. He's just a normal guy who's worked hard and has got himself in this position. Yeah, exactly. Because I think a lot of people, well, I had this as doubt myself. I was like, am I good enough to do this? Like, these guys making 10K a month online, like, they're special. I'm not up to scratch. I'm not good enough. But the reality is anyone can do it, right?
Definitely.
And I think that's a big limiting belief that I came over. Do you feel like similar for you? Or?
Definitely, yeah. I feel like when you try and do anything that requires a lot of work and a lot of upskilling, there's going to be a lot of self-doubt. And it just comes with reps. Like the more you do, the more comfortable you get, and the more you start to believe in yourself. So like that classic Hormozy quote that he says, it's just like outwork your self-doubt.
Yeah.
So just keep working and you'll get over that point where, okay, I'm more competent than I initially thought. You start making deals, and then that belief and that confidence starts to feel. But you're still going to have self-doubt, because you're a human being. But it's being able to push through that and continue to work hard regardless.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you envision yourself staying in the UK, or do you think you're going to move somewhere long term?
I think I'm going to move somewhere in September, definitely, and head either back here or Marbella, because I lived in Marbella earlier this year. So one of those two places I'm still not decided yet
Okay.
which one. But yeah, from September till Christmas, I'll be 4 months out of the UK, just locking in somewhere. Yeah, and that's mainly due to the fact I want one to like. That's something I've noticed this year is when I surround myself with guys who are doing the similar things to me, I level up a lot quicker, mindset wise, but also financially. Like, moved to Marbella in February, had the best month closing I've ever had, and that was a lot of that was just down to the environment. And then again, coming out here and just meeting all these guys, you know, I'm someone who actually does love the UK.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I know that you shit on it a little bit more than me. Maybe that's because you're so isolated in the UK.
Yeah.
But I do love the UK. I just think, yeah, if you're going to grow as a young entrepreneur, I don't think it's the place to be.
Yeah.
Because of that limiting belief mindset everyone around you has, it just brings you down. Whether you think it does or not, it definitely has an impact. And then to mention as well, like it's a bit pernickety, but like the weather, like the weather, yeah. Like September till January, it's cold, it's dark, it's wet. You know, I could come out here and be able to watch the sunset every night and swim and get up in the morning and go to the gym. Like, it just puts you in such a better state for working, but also health-wise as well and mentally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100% agree with you. I think the UK is... I don't hate the UK. I think it's beautiful. It has some amazing parts to it. But I agree. I think if you're young, I think just traveling in general is a great way to find out more about yourself. Living in a different country by yourself, you added on like an extra responsibility that you wouldn't get if you were living in the UK. I think that's really important. You come across like challenges, problems by yourself, you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And it's all about getting out your comfort zone. Like, a lot of people wouldn't want to do that because it is uncomfortable traveling alone and leaving everything that you know and coming to a new country. There's a lot of discomfort there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that holds a lot of people back.
Definitely.
But as cliche as it sounds, it's like the most growth is outside that comfort zone. So just finding things that are uncomfortable and just doing them anyway, you'll be very surprised. What's on the other side of that is a lot of growth, and you realize, and you become more confident as a person because you're like, I didn't realize that I was capable of doing that. And then that's when you start stepping into other things that are uncomfortable, and then you're pretty much a brand new person because you're doing all these things that are growing you as a person.
You're leveling up. Like, it's all about just leveling up the whole time. I agree. I think you've got to do stuff that scares you. Even now, like, even as we're growing more, it's like, I'm like, you've invested in a new mentor or investing in a new thing or going to a new country. I mean, I came to Bali by myself. I've never moved to a country by myself before until Bali. Yeah. Like, I traveled with friends and things, and I guess that's a lie. Actually, I went to Marbella by myself. But Marbella, it's not really, it's a bit different to moving somewhere like here. It's quite far away. Yeah. But yeah, I think that it was a bit scary, like, coming out here alone. But I'm so glad I did it. You know, you meet so many people. And I think people should ask themselves the question, like, when have they left their comfort zone and it's ended in something bad happening? Very little.
Yeah.
Very little.
Yeah.
You learn so much. Why are you laughing?
Yeah.
I feel like you've got...
No. I can just imagine someone, like, listening to this being like, who stepped out of their comfort zone and it didn't go too well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree, right? Like, if you go into... There's always, yes, there might be failure, but at the end of the day, you're always going to grow from that. And it's like, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst case scenario?
Yeah,
definitely agree. But how old are you? 21?
21, yeah.
Yeah, so to be living in Bali, doing all this stuff is pretty cool for a 21-year-old.
Yeah.
Have you learned, are there things that you've learned about yourself, or have you, like, matured quicker by coming out here and traveling, meeting different people, would you say?
That's a good question. I think so, yeah, definitely. I feel like, one, because you're just by yourself, so you're just independent straight away. You learn a lot through that anyway. But then meeting people, going to dinners with people you've never met before, and you're showing up, you have to sit down at a table, interact with them, get along with them. You know, that's a skill in itself. And I think that sales has helped a lot with that
Yeah.
because it's such a diverse skill set. It can be put into so many different fields, which I think that's actually quite a good topic we could talk about. But yeah, I think that definitely traveling, you learn so much, living somewhere else, new places, new people, forcing yourself to get out and meet people. Like it's, yeah, so important.
Yeah, it's a good way to practice sales as well. When you're traveling, speaking to different people, just improving your communication skills and emotional intelligence as well. Understanding that not everyone is the same. Everyone has different needs, and people are going to react differently, different personalities. So it's important when you're speaking to different people, like almost adapting, and which is the same as a sales call essentially. Like, that person wants to buy for you because they want to trust you, right? So it's important to be able to be a trustworthy person.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that that's something that beginners who are thinking about getting into the space should know, is that if you have a decent level of EQ and you can interact with people, and you're someone who could go to a dinner and not know anyone, and by the end of the dinner can get along with everyone, you will do well at sales. Genuinely, I think that if you're just I need to sneeze. No, maybe not. if you're someone who can hold a conversation and you get along with people, maybe you play team sports, things like that. Maybe you play team sports at uni. You'll do really well at sales because me and you know there's so many guys who just can't hold a normal conversation. They can't go to those dinners and speak with people. It's just like not possible for them. Yeah. And they struggle so much when they get into sales just because they just have never been in that kind of environment before, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think it's important to, yes, if you have those skills, it does help. But again, if you can't do that, it's not the end all. It's not that you can't come into sales, because I've noticed, I would say I'm quite like an introverted person. I would say that people who are introverts do quite well in sales as well, because they're able to listen better. So I think also on the other side of that is, yes, if you can communicate well, you might have a head start. But also if you're introverted and maybe you'll keep yourself to yourself a little bit, that can be a strength as well in sales. And you can use that to your advantage in active listening and listening to prospects.
Yeah, people do say that. I feel like I'm naturally quite, and I feel like I have a mix of both. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that the introverts do often do really well because they're much better at listening, and that's very key.
Yeah, and it comes back to the ego as well. So it's very hard to develop if you have an ego. And just putting that to the side, realizing that you're probably not going to be very good at the start, or you're definitely not going to be good at the start, and being okay with that and being receptive to feedback, and just be willing to fail early on and just take on the feedback as quickly as you can.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that if you're someone who, because I'm you're probably the same, someone who doesn't like being bad at things, but just accept, you just have to accept it with sales. It's like you are going to be shit to begin with, but that's okay. That's fine. You'll learn a lot quicker if you're willing to look stupid and be shit. But then no one's judging you. Everyone's figuring out. Everyone's learning, especially when you're a beginner. So it's so important that you show up to role plays and you put yourself under the spotlight in front of other people, because you'll learn. You'll improve so much more by doing that. And when you get put in those situations where you're not too sure and maybe you are a bit embarrassed, when after that you learn from it, and then when you're on a real sales call, you would have learned from that situation where you're then going to nail it the second time round. And I think it's better to be in those tough situations when it's a role play than it is to do that on your first call. And I'm not going to go on 20 role plays. I'm not going to get any advice. I'm just going to wait till I get on the calls. You're going to be shit, and it's going to be 10 times harder for you if you do it that way.
Yeah, practice is 100% important, because when you come to the real thing, you're going to be well more prepared than if you have never practiced before. But again, you're never going to be fully prepared, so it's just going in knowing that it's probably not going to be great at the start, but be okay with that and know that you will improve and you will develop.
100%. And another thing I wanted to speak to you about as well, as two guys from the UK similar sort of age,
Yeah.
probably wandering around taking
Yeah.
this.
What are you gonna ask me?
I think that there's such a stigma around like online programs, courses, mentorships, and I know we've spoken a bit about it, but for you, like, how do you feel like you came over that? Like, because, you know, there's probably loads of people you spoke to about it. They're like, oh, it's all a scam. It's a pyramid scheme, things like that. Like, what was your mindset for actually then going to and investing money into these programs and actually going for it? Like, how do you feel like you overcame that hurdle that a lot of people never will?
Yeah, I think that the online space, I feel like it has that reputation for a reason. And I think there are a lot of programs and courses out there that aren't that beneficial and aren't great. And it is just a money-making scheme. Get people into the program and then don't deliver on what they promised. And I feel like you just have to do your due diligence. Like, be very careful in what you're investing. Look at the testimonials. Trust the person that you're investing in. So just be very careful in doing that would be my advice, because there are a lot of, not scammers, but there are a lot of programs that just aren't very good.
Yeah.
So being very careful in that. But I also think that coming back to that worst case scenario, if you do invest in it and maybe it doesn't go to plan, then at least you gave it a go, and there's still something to learn from that experience. But the alternative for that is if you don't invest in yourself, you don't take that risk, then you'll never know and you'll just be in the same spot. Yeah. So I think be careful with what you're investing in, do your research, make sure that the person you're investing in is legit and you definitely want to do, and you're committed to yourself and you want to do it. And then also just a responsibility framing, just taking full responsibility for everything in your life. Like everything. Like, if the program doesn't work, then that's your fault. It's your fault that you didn't choose, you didn't vet it properly, and it's your fault that maybe you didn't do the work and you didn't put it in, even if it's a shit program. And just taking full responsibility, because then that puts you in control of, okay, what now can I do about it? And just getting the habit of taking responsibility, I think, is really important. Because even when you're on these offers, having that sense of like, okay, like blaming the leads, yes, there could be shit leads, but just taking full responsibility of like, what can I do right now? What can I do to make this situation a bit better? And what did if you got let go of an offer, it didn't go well, okay, what did I do wrong and how can I improve on that? And just taking full responsibility for everything that happens in your life is super important. Not just in sales, but everything, relationships, dating,
health,
health,
everything. I agree.
Fitness, everything.
I think extreme ownership is so important. Yeah, and especially if you're coming into sales, like if you come in with that mindset, you'll do really well. But I think again with the money, it's like, what's the worst case? I mean, the mindset I had was like, I was earning about $1,000 a month working part-time at a hotel, and I had the 3,000 I was investing, and I was thinking in my head, it's like, okay, worst case here, I spend the 3,000. Let's say it just goes terribly wrong and I don't make any money from it. What have I lost? Okay, I've lost 3 months of pay, so I've lost 3 months of time for the opportunity to potentially make enough money for me to be able to travel, live the lifestyle, do the things that I wanted to do. And it's like, in my head, that's so worth it.
Yeah.
It's so worth me. It's almost like, I heard someone say this the other day. It was like, take the money, take the 3K. If you just threw it out the window, how long is it going to take you to earn that money back? 3 months it was for me. It's like, I'm willing to give up 3 months of time for the potential to make 10, 15, travel, do all those things. I think that's a nice reframe to think about if you're on the edge and nervous about it.
Definitely. What's riskier, staying where you are or investing money that you can just make back?
Okay, cool. We'll leave it there for today. I feel like, I hope people would have got value from that. I think that we can only say what we've experienced, right? I think that's important. It's just, we've got from both of us a point where we were quite lost in our lives to a point now where I'm pretty happy. You seem pretty happy.
We're living,
we're fucking living. We're doing pretty well now. We're both pretty happy, but we have gone through those tough phases, and I think that for someone who's thinking about getting into the space, like, they're definitely gonna be more aware now after that conversation.
Yeah, I think I think it's good to set realistic expectations of what you can achieve in the space, but what it takes, but then also what is possible. Like, look at both of us, right? We're able to travel all over the world, make some decent money, and then meet a lot of people as well. Like, we're living proof of what the high ticket space can do. But then to caveat to that, like we've been talking about during this call, is not easy, and it does require a lot of work. So hopefully that's clearer.
Yeah, and I think that's like the final message is, if you think you want to get into high ticket sales, know that it's going to take work, but think about the cost of staying in the same position that you're in now, and think, is that really what I want in 5 years' time? And closing and high ticket sales is a very, very good way of getting out of that.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
For sure. Well, Jake, absolute pleasure.
Been a pleasure.
Thanks for coming on, lad.
It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you guys in the next one.